I was not going to do that, but inspired by what I'm gonna play today and by the videos I watched yesterday, I'm actually gonna go ahead and do this video for you guys in case you're interested, in case you're curious about which classes or which tank specs specifically are the strongest specs to play in World of Warcraft Dragonflight. Now, keep in mind that this is subject to change. Just 1 week ago, Guardian Druid went from being the dog shit as garbage to being broken as shit because he was literally buffed by 50%. So, across the board, he got 50%, not 15, 50% buff across the board. This makes Guardian Druid broken as shit. Like, it's not because of a fun gameplay or not. Like, if you guys play Guardian Druid or if you try out Guardian Druid, you will see that it still falls short. There are some styles that do not really match with one another. There is not so much intermingling between the spells that it has. For example, I will speak about Warrior and say that Warrior, Protection Warrior, the spells that you have right now, the abilities you have right now, they feel very coherent. They match, okay? You're always mashing buttons, you're always clicking something, there's always something that you can do better, you know? You have a permanent uptime on shield block and so on and so forth. Druid lacks this, but is so numerically superior right now that it doesn't even matter. I can see Druid being the absolute king right now, as it is, because of numerical values, but I am expecting a nerf to arrive into this particular spec, Guardian Druid being the case, and honestly, I don't think the final product will be what we have right now. I believe that Druid after the nerf is gonna go A tier or B tier maybe, because it doesn't have that extra thing to bring. Unlike DK, which I believe DK will be the best fucking tank to progress with. Now, DK always had the safety mechanisms from Death with Purgatory. DK was always phenomenal when it came to self-healing possibilities. It's a very, very good and solid tank to progress with, whether it comes to Vampiric Blood, whether it comes to self-healing that it can do via Death Strike, whether it comes to, you know, the overall class strengths. And the fact that the talent revamps, they really helped DK itself. Blood being most importantly, I'm not talking about the DPSs, even though I will do a small teaser right here and mention that Unholy DK is, it's gonna be the king of Mythic Plus, but that's besides the point. Now, speaking of Mythic Plus, if you're interested in Mythic Plus, DK doesn't go in the S tier category. Its damage is currently lackluster when it comes to AoE. It does not really necessarily struggle with threat, but it does have some issues when it comes to the overall damage, like it falls behind in comparison to every other tank. That said, we have a Demon Hunter. Okay, now, Demon Hunters are a very, very strong spec themselves, and where DK falls short in Mythic Plus, Demon Hunter goes insane. Now, they have two builds, one of which is Chaos Brand, the other one... Sorry, Firebrand, my apologies. The other one being the Soul build, right? Now, the Firebrand build can spread the fucking Firebrand to everybody around him, and it does insane amounts of damage. In the past, the issue with Demon Hunters was that you had to kite too much, because when you did not have uptime in your demonic spikes, this is something especially true for Shadowlands, okay? When you did not have uptime on your demon spikes, you were super duper squishy. And it was easy for you to flop, okay? Now, this situation has been addressed. You are significantly more tanky than you were. Still, you're a bit behind. Like, the problem with Vengeance Demon Hunter is single target. Like, AoE does very, very good damage, but the single target damage is not that strong. Still, it's a very, very solid choice for all of you guys. Now, speaking of choices and damaging and AoE, I will put Monk on A tier as well. Now, you will see that all of the tank ranking I will have is kind of, you know, ranked upwards. It's not towards the bottom half, it's up towards the up half, and I will explain why. The tanking revamps have been very, very good for all of the classes. The threat works as it should. It's actually fairly difficult to get threat. And if we're going to compare the tanking threat capabilities with the DPSs, in order to get threat right now from a tank, you need to do burst damage very, very quickly. And the specs that are able to do burst damage very, very quickly, kind of like a marksmanship hunter, they suck dick. That leads to the awkward situation of, you know, no class being able to take threat from them. And when I say awkward, I mean pleasantly awkward, because a tank can only do that much before he loses threat, or before it loses threat. And the reason why is that it's just numerical values, you know? Now, monks are there numerically. Like, the AoE capabilities of monks are very, very good. The problem with monk right now is that it's squishy. Like, in comparison to literally every other tank across the board, like warriors, paladins, and whoever the fuck, you know, even though you have a lot of cooldowns and you can see Brewmaster Monk working in a raiding situation, in a raiding scenario, you have, for example, Dampen Harm, you have Diffuse Magic, you have Fortifying Brew, you have a lot of things, okay, to take care of. But when it comes to a lot of damage coming all the time, you're not gonna be able to manage that much. Like, the Stagger is not that effective. It's the first expansion that Monk is actually relatively squishy when it comes to... Everything I'm talking, by the way, is about competitive hardcore PvE raiding. Like, you can do heroic raiding with all of the fucking tanks, it doesn't really matter, you know? I'm just saying that if you want to cheese the living fuck out of it, you know? Or if you want to go hard mode, or, you know, go as hard as you can. As sweaty as possible. That said, Monk with a Beyblade kick is undeniably, not undeniably, I don't want to say undeniably, but it does insane amounts of can I speak? I can speak. AoE damage. Now, that aside, I'm going to talk about Paladin, and I'm going to put Paladin in S tier category. It is a very good time to be playing a Protection Paladin. Why? The cooldowns. If you go to the talent calculator right now, you will be able to see preposterous amounts of defensive talents. You have the Guardian of the Ancient Kings, you have the proc of the Guardian of the Kings, you have Sentinel, you have you have Bow Taunt every 2 minutes if you spec into it. You have Ardent Defender every 1 minute. You have insane amounts of defensives. Like, you pretty much have always mitigation active, and other than your small mitigation, you always have big cooldowns active. It's insane. It's if you want to go big AoE damage, you can also do that. Consecration was a bit nerfed, but that's besides the point. It doesn't really matter. Like, Port Paladin is a very, very solid spot, and in my opinion, this is where we have warriors as well, Protection Warriors. Now, why? Protection Warrior feels immensely fun to play. You can have a permanent uptime on your shield block, you can have a permanent uptime on your ignore pain, you can do damage to buff the shield from your ignore pain, at the same time you're mashing buttons like crazy. This Prot Warrior is similar to the Prot Warrior we had back in BFA, as in you will do very, very high APM, actions per minute. You always have something to do, you have zero downtime, but, here comes the big but. Prot Warrior has an issue, has a situation. Small one, but a situation regardless. Prot Warrior is gonna be the king of Mythic Plus. Maybe I should put, if it is about Mythic Plus, I will put him behind Druid as it is right now, just because of the numerical value that Druid has. Because of the fucking fuck up. Because I believe it is a fuck up. You can't just buff a class by 50%, okay? Like, the Druid is, it's out. It doesn't, like, if there was a retarded fucking tier, I would put Druid in retarded, because the damage is just fucking insane. That said, the warrior, the Protection Warrior, is gonna be the king of Mythic Plus. He will fall a bit behind when it comes to raiding, but still, I believe it is a very, very strong class to play. So, bottom line, if you want to keep something from this, if you're a World First Raider or Top 100 Raider or whatever, you know, you probably want to stick with, if you do raiding, you want to stick with a DK main tank and maybe a Paladin off tank. I know that what I'm saying may be giving you some Wrath of the Lich King vibes, but not actually. Druid is something that you could definitely have in your roster, just because of the fucking numbers, like I said, numerical value. So if you focus in your raiding as it is right now, because keep in mind that this is subject to change, you know, during the first 2 weeks of every major expansion, actually, Blizzard has been tuning, has been upping and downing stuff in class balance. As it is right now, if you do raid, you want a Druid and a DK, or you want a DK and a Paladin. If you do Mythic Plus, you want to be a Warrior, or you want to be a Vengeance Demon Hunter, and that should just give you the best. Now, if you're not in the top worlds, you know, the best of the best fucking raiders, and you are more of a hardcore, not hardcore, let's say semi-hardcore Mythic Raider, or a Heroic Raider, I'm not even gonna mention normal raiding and LFR, because, I mean, you can tank this as a fucking hunter. So, let's go back into the Heroic and Mythic. You will be delighted to hear that you can play whatever the fuck in maximum efficiency. It won't matter, especially for heroic raiding, which I believe that the vast majority of the player base is actually experiencing. You can play as Monk, you can play as a Demon Hunter, you can play as a Warrior, Paladin, Demon DK, and Druid, whatever you desire. So literally just go out there and find your class The tanks are very, very highly tuned. It is a very, very good time to be a tank. And that would be it for this part of the video. If I can give you guys my last thoughts, my last opinions when it comes to tanking. If you improve yourself and you play your class at its maximum benefit, you will be shocked of the things it can and cannot do. Mostly the can part, not the cannot part. It's good. Like, Dragonflight is looking good for tanks. And honestly, go out there, preach out there, let people know that it is a very good time to be a WoW gamer. With the lack of the expensive system reworks, such as, you know, anima, conduits, all this shit, the balancing will be significantly easier. So I believe that at some point all of the tanks will be either all on A tier or on S tier. It will depend how Blizzard does the balancing. And yeah, that's it. This is the very, very first expansion in a while, ever since Worlds of Draenor actually, that it is very easy to pick the class. There are no extra expensive legendaries. There are no... the only thing that we will be having is a set bonus, right? But other than that, there is no other system that can destroy and affect the class balance. So yeah, that sums up this part of our stream, you know. Whatever, I'm really curious if you guys will play World of Warcraft, or if you guys are interested in playing a tank at all whatsoever. I know that tanking is something that I truly adore in PvE. Like, if I were to play PvP, I would definitely not play a tank. I would prefer to play a DPS, someone fast, someone high-paced, like a Feral Druid, for example, right? But if I were to play PvE, I would very much prefer to tank, and I'm actually feeling the call to raid, believe it or not. Maybe I will do just that. I will be playing tomorrow. Pleasurable Junior, thank you for the message, my friend. Welcome to the stream. If you will be playing tomorrow, I would love to have you if you want to play in the EU. If not, we can just, you know, feel each other's presences into the game through the fucking Atlantic. I truly wish they're not gonna do it, but I truly wish they could do it. Something like experimental realms where people would be able to play between US and EU, you know. Anyway, that's the tier list, guys. Go out, preach, play.